William never considered himself the jealous type. He wasn't the man to snoop through his fiancée's phone or dissect every casual text with a male colleague. Trust was the foundation of love, or so he believed. That illusion shattered in a matter of seconds, cracking like thin ice beneath his feet. It was supposed to be a quick coffee break, a moment to reset before heading home. He settled into his favorite corner of the cafe, the scent of freshly ground beans curling into the air, his fingers idly wrapped around a steaming mug. Then he heard it, her voice. Light, breezy, familiar. Sarah, his Sarah. His lips curved into an instinctive smile, until he heard his name slip from her lips, wrapped in a laugh that felt like a dagger to the ribs. William? Oh, please. He's so clueless. He doesn't even check my phone. Pays for everything like a good little fiancé. His pulse spiked. A cold hand gripped his spine. He stayed frozen, listening as she detailed her grand scheme, a public betrayal so elaborate, so vicious. It didn't just sting, it ignited something darker. Rage. Calculated, patient rage. She had no idea the hunter had just become the hunted. William didn't move. He didn't breathe. The warmth of his coffee turned into an afterthought as Sarah's words sank their claws into him, twisting deep, leaving wounds he didn't yet know how to process. His heartbeat pounded in his ears, but his mind sharpened with an eerie calm. You should have seen his face when he was rambling about the honeymoon. Sarah mused, her voice drenched in amusement. Bali this, Bora Bora that. Meanwhile, I'm counting down the days until I ride off with David. A new name, David. William's grip on his mug tightened, but still, he remained a silent observer in this twisted theater of deception. His fiancée, the woman he had built a life with, the woman he adored, was sitting less than 10 feet away, bragging about a betrayal she had already meticulously planned. It wasn't just an affair, it was a spectacle, something she craved attention for, a story she wanted to go viral. Imagine the wedding, she continued, voice giddy. I pause, let the moment stretch. Then, bam, I can't marry you, William, I love someone else. And then out roars David on his bike. Laughter rippled through the table. Sarah was glowing, basking in the anticipation of his destruction. William, however, was already rewriting the script. The betrayal wasn't going to be his downfall. It was going to be hers. She thought she had everything under control, but she had no idea who she was about to cross. William didn't confront Sarah that night. No, that would have been too easy. Instead, he played his part, the clueless, devoted fiancé, while his mind worked in overdrive, planning his next move. When she waltzed through the front door, her smile was effortless, like she hadn't just plotted his public humiliation over lattes and gossip. Hey, babe, she greeted, pressing a kiss to his cheek, the same lips that had spoken about riding off into the sunset with David. William smiled, a warm, genuine smile, at least. That's how it looked to her. Inside, he was ice cold. Busy day? He asked, leaning against the kitchen counter. Casual, calm. Sarah stretched dramatically, tossing her bag aside. You have no idea. Wedding planning is draining the life out of me. She laughed as she grabbed a water bottle from the fridge, completely unaware that William had already started draining her carefully constructed scheme of its power. Tell me about it, he chuckled, setting a plate of dinner in front of her. We're in the final stretch now. You must be excited. She didn't hesitate. Of course, it's going to be unforgettable. Oh, it would be, just not in the way she expected. Later that night, William listened to her soft, steady breaths as she slept. How easily she could rest, knowing she was about to ruin him. But he wasn't broken, not yet. He was strategizing, calculating, dismantling every advantage she thought she had. Sarah believed she was playing a game. She had no idea she was about to lose. William knew he had to be patient, rushing in, throwing accusations, demanding answers. That would only give Sarah the upper hand. No, he needed to be smarter, calculated. So, when she left for work the next morning, he didn't waste a second. He moved like a shadow through their shared apartment, his every step fueled by cold determination. Her phone was locked, But William had seen her enter the passcode more times than he could count, 1,234. Predictable, lazy, just like her lies. The screen lit up, and there it was, the proof. Texts between her and David, stretching back months. This wasn't just a fling. Sarah. I can't wait to feel you again. The wedding is such a drag. If only William knew how badly I wanted to be yours instead. David. Patience. Babe, soon, we'll have everything. William gritted his teeth, his hands tightening around the phone. The audacity, the sheer entitlement. She was playing him, using him, bleeding him dry, all while giving herself to another man. And then, another message popped up. Sarah. He's so clueless. I don't even have to pretend anymore. Last night, I fell asleep next to him, thinking about you. A slow, bitter laugh escaped William's lips. Clueless? No, he wasn't clueless, he was methodical. She wanted a spectacle, a grand exit. Fine, he'd give her one. But Sarah wouldn't be the star of this show. No, she'd be the fool. That evening, William played his role to perfection. He greeted Sarah with his usual warmth, his smile easy, his kisses lingering just enough to keep her oblivious. She had no idea he had spent the entire day gathering every detail. Every whisper of her betrayal, the bank transfers, the dinner reservations charged to his card, the hotel receipts conveniently labeled as business trips. They sat on the couch, her feet tucked beneath her, scrolling mindlessly through wedding inspiration on her phone. She sighed dramatically. I swear this wedding planning is exhausting. You're lucky you just get to show up and say, I do. William smirked, lifting his glass of whiskey to his lips. If only she knew. You know I appreciate everything you do, babe, he murmured, setting a hand on her thigh, fingers tracing light, lazy circles against her skin. Sarah melted, leaning into his touch. I know, but still, a little pampering wouldn't hurt. Maybe a spa weekend? I could use some stress relief. His blood boiled, but his face gave nothing away. Anything for you, love. His voice was smooth, steady. She beamed, pressing a soft kiss to his jaw, her breath warm against his skin. William deepened the kiss, his grip firm, possessive. He let his hands wander. Let her think she still had control. Let her believe she was winning. Because soon, very soon, she would realize the game was his to play. The moment Sarah drifted into a deep, blissful sleep, William moved with quiet precision. He lay beside her for a few extra minutes, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing, feeling the warmth of her body curled against him. It would have been intimate, comforting even, had he not known the truth. Instead, it fueled the fire raging inside him. Carefully, he untangled himself from her embrace, inching out of bed with the kind of calculated grace a thief might use in the dead of night. His movements were silent, his breath controlled. Sarah stirred slightly, but she didn't wake. She had no reason to suspect anything. To her, he was still the devoted fiancé, the fool she thought she had wrapped around her finger. William reached for her phone, lying carelessly on the nightstand. She trusted him enough to not guard it. Ironic. Really, considering her web of lies. He swiped up, entered the passcode he had memorized weeks ago, and within seconds, the device was unlocked in his hands. He went straight to her messages, scrolling through her conversation with Melissa, her ever-loyal confidant. It was all there. Plans for the wedding spectacle, coded messages about the ride of a lifetime, and worst of all, messages from David. William's jaw clenched. My love, I can't wait to have you all to myself. His grip tightened on the phone. Oh, you'll have your moment, David. But it won't be the one you think. William had always been a man of composure, of measured responses and quiet strength. But tonight, as he sat across from Paul in their usual dimly lit bar, there was a storm raging beneath his calm exterior. He had laid it all out, Sarah's betrayal, David's cocky arrogance, and the cruel spectacle they had planned at his expense. Paul, who had heard his fair share of drama over the years, simply leaned back in his chair, swirling the amber liquid in his glass with a thoughtful smirk. "You've got two options," Paul said, finally breaking the silence. "One, you walk away, let her have her little fantasy, let her crash and burn with that idiot. Or two," he took a slow sip, his eyes gleaming with something wicked, "you make damn sure the flames consume her first." William exhaled sharply, the tightness in his chest loosening just slightly. There was no hesitation. "Option two," he murmured. Paul grinned, raising his glass in a mock toast. "Knew you had it in you." And just like that, the plan was set in motion. Over the next few hours, they plotted every detail. How to expose Sarah in the most devastating way possible. How to ensure David was caught in his own web of deceit. But most importantly, how to make sure William didn't just walk away from this mess, he walked away victorious. By the time they left the bar, William felt lighter. The rage was still there, but now it had purpose. Sarah wanted a show? She had no idea what was coming. The day of the wedding had arrived, and the air buzzed with excitement. White flowers adorned every surface. Soft music played in the background, and guests chatted animatedly, unaware of the storm about to descend. William stood at the altar, a picture of perfect composure. His tailored suit crisp, his expression unreadable, his pulse was steady, controlled. He had played this moment out in his head too many times to let it rattle him. Sarah, glowing in her ivory gown, walked down the aisle with a smug sort of grace, as if she were a queen stepping toward her grand coronation. She had no idea that her perfect performance was about to be rewritten. She reached the altar, her hands delicately folded over his, and the priest began the ceremony. "Do you, Sarah, take William?" "I can't," she gasped. Just as rehearsed, the crowd collectively inhaled, their expressions shifting from joy to shock. Sarah turned toward the entrance, waiting for her grand escape, for David to roar in on his motorcycle like some leather-clad knight. But the air remained still. No engines revved, no dramatic exit awaited her. Instead, a giant screen behind them flickered to life, and the entire church gasped. There it was, her texts, her scheming, her affair, all displayed in crisp detail for everyone to see. The smug confidence drained from Sarah's face as murmurs turned to full-blown gasps. William tilted his head, smirking. "Didn't see that twist coming. Did you?" A stunned silence hung over the courtyard like a thick fog. Sarah stood motionless, her veil slightly askew, her perfectly sculpted lips parted in disbelief. Her eyes darted around the crowd, searching for sympathy, for an escape, for anything that could salvage the wreckage of her once perfect plan. But there was no saving face now, not when her betrayal was laid bare for everyone to see. Gasps rippled through the guests, followed by hushed whispers and not-so-hidden smirks. Her father, once beaming with pride, now had his head in his hands. Her mother clutched her pearls, her expression a mix of horror and humiliation. The bridesmaids, who had been giddy accomplices, shrank back, suddenly desperate to disassociate from the disaster unfolding before them. Then, just when Sarah thought it couldn't get worse, the deep rumble of engines shattered the stunned quiet. But it wasn't David. No, this was something else entirely. A pack of bikers rolled in, led by none other than Tessa. Her leather-clad figure swung off a gleaming chrome motorcycle with the kind of authority that turned heads. Sarah barely had time to process before Tessa stormed toward her, fire in her eyes. "So, this was your fairy tale?" she sneered. "Stealing my man, ruining my life? Looks like karma RSVP'd to your wedding, sweetheart." William smirked, crossing his arms. "Tessa, I believe this is your moment." Sarah opened her mouth to protest, but no words came. She had finally lost control. Sarah's world had imploded. The elegant wedding she had meticulously crafted was reduced to nothing more than a public execution of her own making. The guests had either left in a flurry of scandalized murmurs or stayed to relish the mess, whispering about the viral-worthy humiliation they had just witnessed. But the worst part? The man she had mocked, manipulated, and betrayed had walked away without a second glance. leaving her stranded in the wreckage of her own arrogance. Meanwhile, William stood outside the venue, the cool breeze hitting his face like a cleansing wave. For the first time in months, maybe even years, he felt weightless, unshackled from the lie he had unknowingly lived in. Paul clapped him on the back, his grin wicked. "You, my friend, just made history." William chuckled, shaking his head. Didn't think freedom would feel this damn good. And just like that, the chapter of Sarah was closed. No bitterness, no regrets, just a man reclaiming his life. A week later, on a sun-drenched beach with a drink in hand and a future wide open, William smiled. He had won in every way that mattered. Betrayal, whether in relationships or friendships, is a harsh reality that many face. But how you respond defines your future. William's story is a reminder that self-respect and emotional resilience are more valuable than clinging to someone who doesn't value you. In today's world, where social media thrives on image and spectacle, it's easy to be deceived by appearances. Pay attention to actions, not just words. Trust your instincts, set boundaries, and never allow yourself to be used as a stepping stone for someone else's selfish gain. Most importantly, healing isn't about revenge, it's about moving forward, stronger and wiser.